Welcome to today's story time. Today's story is titled One Wrong Decision. In the bustling city of Lagos, where dreams are often born and sometimes lost, there lived a young, ambitious woman named Amaka. She was known for her beauty, intelligence, and the grace with which she navigated her world. With a successful career in finance, a close-knit group of friends, and a supportive family, Amaka seemed to have everything a young woman could ever want. But there was one thing missing: a partner to share her life with. Amaka had always been cautious with matters of the heart. Her parents had taught her the value of choosing wisely when it came to love, and she had watched too many friends make choices that ended in heartbreak. Yet, she was also deeply romantic, believing that true love could conquer all. So when she met Chuka at a friend's wedding, she allowed herself to believe she had found the one. Chuka was charming, with a smile that could light up a room and a personality that drew people in. He was attentive, always knowing the right thing to say, and he showered Amaka with affection from the moment they met. It seemed perfect, too perfect, some might say, but Amaka was smitten. She had finally found the man who made her feel like the most important person in the world. They began dating, and Chuka quickly became the center of Amaka's world. He had a way of making her feel special, like she was the one and only woman that mattered. He was always there with a sweet text, a surprise visit, or a thoughtful gift. Her friends and family noticed how happy she was and, for the most part, supported her relationship. But a few of her closest friends had their reservations. Amaka, are you sure about this guy? Her best friend, Ada, asked one evening over drink. I mean, he seems nice, but something about him feels off. It's like he's too good to be true. Amaka waved off Ada's concern. You're just being overprotective, she said with a smile. Chuka is amazing, and I'm so lucky to have him. I've never been this happy. But Ada couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Chuka than met the eye. She decided to keep her thoughts to herself, not wanting to rain on her friend's parade. As the months went by, Chuka and Amaka's relationship grew stronger, at least on the surface. They traveled together, attended social events, and became the couple everyone admired. Chuka knew how to play the part of the perfect boyfriend, and Amaka was blissfully unaware of the cracks forming beneath the surface. One evening, after a romantic dinner at an upscale restaurant, Chuka got down on one knee and proposed. The ring was dazzling, a large diamond set in a platinum band. Amaka was overjoyed. She had dreamed of this moment for as long as she could remember, and now it was finally happening. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes, she exclaimed, tears of happiness streaming down her face. The other diners clapped and cheered as Shuka slipped the ring onto her finger. It was a fairy tale moment, and Amaka felt like the luckiest woman in the world. The wedding planning began almost immediately. Amaka's parents spared no expense, wanting to give their only daughter the wedding of her dreams. The venue was booked, the dress was chosen, and the guest list grew longer by the day. Chuka played his part well, always agreeing with Amaka's choices and making her feel like they were building a future together. But as the big day approached, there were small signs that not everything was as perfect as it seemed. Chuka's phone calls began less frequent, and he often had to cancel plans at the last minute, citing work or other commitments. Amaka noticed, but she pushed the doubt out of her mind. He's just busy, she told herself. He loves me, and that's all that matters. The wedding day arrived, and it was everything Amaka had ever dreamed of. The church was filled with flowers, the pews packed with family and friends, and all eager to witness the union of two souls in love. Amaka's father walked her down the aisle, beaming with pride, while her mother dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. It was a perfect day, or so it seemed. As Amaka and Chuka stood before the altar, exchanging vows, there was a moment when Chuka's gaze seemed to flicker, a brief shadow passing over his face, but it was gone as quickly as it had appeared, and Amaka dismissed it as nerves. After all, marriage was a big step, and it was normal to feel a little anxious. The reception was a grand affair, with music, dancing, and enough food to fill an army. Amaka's friends and family surrounded her, congratulating her on finding such a wonderful husband. Chuka was the life of the party, charming everyone with his wit and charisma. As the night wore on, Amaka felt a deep sense of contentment. She was married to the man of her dreams, and nothing could ruin this moment. But as the guests began to leave and the festivities wound down, Chuka became distant. He made an excuse about needing to make a phone call and disappeared for over an hour. When he returned, he was evasive when Amaka asked where he had been. She felt a pang of unease but pushed it aside. This was her wedding night and she didn't want anything to spoil it. The newlyweds jetted off to Paris for their honeymoon, a city of romance and wonder. Amaka was thrilled, eager to explore the city with her new husband. But from the moment they arrived, Chuka's behavior began to change. He was often on his phone, making calls and sending texts, and seemed distracted during their outings. Amaka tried to get his attention, but he always had a ready excuse. One evening, as they sat in a quaint cafe overlooking the Eiffel Tower, Amaka finally confronted him. Chuka, what's going on? You've been so distant since we got here. Is everything okay? Chuka looked up from his phone, a strange smile on his face. It's just work, Amaka. I'm sorry. I didn't want to worry you, but there is a deal I'm trying to close, and it's been a bit stressful. Amaka wanted to believe him, so she nodded, deciding to trust her husband. Okay, but can we try to enjoy the rest of our honeymoon? This is supposed to be our time. Of course, darling, Chuka said, taking her hand. I promise, no more distractions. For the next few days, Chuka made an effort to be more present and Amaka began to relax. They visited museums, strolled through the streets of Paris, and shared romantic dinners. But despite Shuka's efforts, there was a distance between them that Amaka couldn't quite bridge. She told herself it was just the stress of adjusting to married life, but deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. When they returned home, life quickly settled into a routine. Amaka went back to work, and Chuka, who claimed to be an entrepreneur, seemed to be constantly on the move, meeting clients and attending business events. At first, Amaka admired his dedication, but as the months went by, she began to feel increasingly isolated. Chuka was often away on business trips, sometimes for days or even weeks at a time. When he was home, he was either on his phone or out with friends. The man who had once been so attentive and loving now seemed more interested in everything but his wife. Amaka tried to talk to him about it, but Chuka always had a way of deflecting the conversation. "You are overthinking things, Amaka," he would say with a smile. "I'm doing this for us, for our future. Don't you want to live a comfortable life?" Of course, Amaka wanted a comfortable life, but not at the expense of her marriage. She missed the closeness they had shared, the feeling that they were a team. But whenever she tried to express her feelings, Chuka brushed her off, making her feel like she was being unreasonable. As time passed, the cracks in their marriage grew wider. Amaka began to notice things that didn't add up: strange charges on their credit card statements, unexplained absences, and vague answers to simple questions. Chuka had become a master at dodging her inquiries, always managing to smooth things over with his charm. But Amaka's unease continued to grow. One day, while Chuka was away on yet another business trip, Amaka received a call from a woman she didn't know. The woman introduced herself as Ifeoma, and what she said next shattered Amaka's world. "Amaka, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you need to know the truth about Chuka. He's been seeing me for over a year. He told me he was single, but I recently found out that he's married to you." Amaka felt like the ground had been pulled out from under her. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. Chuka would never. "I know this is hard to hear, but it's the truth," Ifoma continued. "I've seen him with other women too." Amaka's heart pounded in her chest. She could barely process what Ifoma was saying. How could this be true? Chuka was her husband, the man she loved, the one who had promised to be with her forever. Yet, deep down, something told her that Ifoma was telling the truth. After the call ended, Amaka sat in silence, her mind racing. She didn't want to believe it, but the signs were all there. The late night calls, the frequent trips, the distance between them, everything suddenly made sense. Chuka wasn't the man she thought he was. He was a stranger, a conman who had taken advantage of her love and trust. When Chuka returned from his trip, Amaka was ready. She had spent the days leading up to his return gathering as much information as she could. She called a few of his so-called business associates, only to find that they barely knew him or didn't exist. She went through his phone records and found numbers she didn't recognize, numbers that led back to other women. The truth was undeniable. Chuka had been living a double life. As Chuka walked through the door, Amaka felt a mixture of anger, heartbreak, and betrayal. She waited until he had settled in before confronting him. Chuka, we need to talk, she said, her voice shaking with emotion. Chuka looked up from his phone, surprised by her tone. What's wrong, Amaka? You look upset. I spoke to someone while you were away, she began. Her eyes locked on his. Her name is Sifoma, and she told me everything. How long have you been cheating on me, Chuka? For a moment, Chuka's expression faltered, but he quickly regained his composure. Ifeoma, I don't know what you're talking about. She's probably just some crazy woman trying to cause trouble. Amaka's eyes filled with tears. Stop lying to me, Chuka. I've seen the proof, the phone records, the texts, the credit card charges. I know everything. Realizing that the jig was up, Chuka's demeanor changed. The charm he had once used to win her over vanished, replaced by a cold, calculating look. So what if I've been seeing other women? You think you are the only one who matters? Get over yourself, Amaka. This is the real world, not some fairy tale. Amaka was stunned by his words. The man she had once loved was now a stranger, cruel and heartless. How could you do this to me? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I gave you everything and you betrayed me. Shuka struggled, his expression indifferent. I did what I had to do. You were useful to me, Amaka, nothing more. You were the perfect trophy wife, and you gave me access to the lifestyle I wanted. But that doesn't mean I was ever going to be faithful to you. Amaka felt like she had been punched in the guts. The man she had trusted with her heart had used her, manipulated her, and discarded her like she was nothing. The realization was too much to bear. Amaka knew she couldn't stay in the same house with Chuka any longer. She packed the bags and left that night, seeking refuge at her parents' home. When she told them what had happened, they were devastated. Her father, who had always been protective of his daughter, was furious, while her mother could only hold her and cry. The next few weeks were a blur of pain and confusion. Amaka filed for divorce, determined to sever all ties with Shuka as quickly as possible. The legal process was messy, with Shuka trying to get as much money out of her as he could. He fought 30, but Amaka's lawyers were better, and in the end, she was able to walk away with her dignity intact, if nothing else. But the emotional scars ran deep. Amaka found it hard to trust anyone, even her friends and family. She blamed herself for being so blind, for not seeing the signs earlier. Nights were the worst, filled with memories of happier times that now felt like lies. She had to rebuild her life from the ground up, starting with a shattered self-esteem. Time passed and slowly Amaka began to heal. She threw herself into her work, finding solace in the one area of her life that had remained constant. Her friends rallied around her, refusing to let her sink in despair. Ada, who had been skeptical of Chika from the start, was a constant source of support, reminding Amaka that she was strong enough to get through this. You deserve so much better than him, Amaka, Ada would say during their long conversations. You're going to come out of this stronger, I know it. Amaka appreciated Ada's words, But it took a long time for her to believe them. The betrayer had cut deep, and the road to recovery was long and lonely. But she refused to let Chuka's action define her. She had made one wrong decision, but that didn't mean her entire life was ruined. With time, Amaka began to open up to the possibility of love again. Though she was much more cautious now, she went on a few dates, but nothing serious. She wasn't ready to dive back into a relationship, and that was okay. For the first time in a long time, she was focusing on herself, her needs, her happiness, and her future. Years passed, and Amaka eventually found peace. She had learned valuable lessons from her ordeal, lessons about self-worth, resilience, and the importance of listening to her instincts. She had also come to realize that her happiness didn't depend on a man or on anyone else for that matter. It was something she had to cultivate within herself. One day, while attending a charity event organized by her company, Amaka met someone new. His name was Kelechi, a kind and sincere man, unlike Chuka. Didn't try to impress her with grand gesture or empty promises. He was honest, genuine, and treated her with the respect she had always deserved. At first, Amaka was hesitant, afraid of getting hurt again. But Kelechi was patient, understanding her fears, and never pressuring her to move faster than she was comfortable with. Over time, they developed a deep friendship, one based on mutual respect and trust. And slowly, Amaka began to let her guard down. Kelechi wasn't perfect, no one was. But he was real. No one was. But he was real. And that was more than enough for Amaka. They took things slow, building a relationship that was grounded in truth and understanding. For the first time in years, Amaka felt like she could truly be herself without fear of judgment or betrayal. As they stood on the balcony of Kelechi's apartment one evening, watching the sunset, Amaka felt a sense of contentment that she hadn't experienced in a long time. She knew that life would never be without its challenges, but she also knew that she was strong enough to face them. She had made one wrong decision, but it had led her to a place of greater wisdom and self-awareness. Amaka looked at Kelechi, who was gazing at her with a smile, and she smiled back. This time, she knew she had chosen wisely. Amaka's story is one of love, betrayal, and ultimately redemption. She had made a mistake in choosing Choka, but she didn't let that mistake define her. Instead, she used it as a stepping stone to a better life, one where she was in control of her destiny. She learned that true love isn't about grand gesture or superficial charm. It's about honesty, respect, and a deep connection that goes beyond appearances. And most importantly, she learned to value herself, to trust her instincts, and to never settle for less than she deserved. Amaka's journey wasn't easy, but it made her stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And in the end, she found the happiness she had always been searching for on her own terms. Here comes the end of today's story. I really hope you enjoyed and learned. Thank you for staying till this far. Remember to like, drop your thoughts in the comment section, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Do share this video to your loved ones so we all can learn together. Till I come your way next. Goodbye.